What's up everybody, it's Mike here for Rage Gaming Guides. Today I'm actually just doing a quick guide for World of Warcraft. It's actually a Dualboxing guide. It's just a quick guide to get you started. To dive right in, basically what you'll have to do is download Boomboxer obviously. This is actually the program that I use to Dualbox. There is a large variety of different programs, but I would say this is the easiest. You don't need as much input as some other programs. The first thing you want to do, which I'll show you now, is a number of games. It obviously depends on how many clients you want to run and how many characters you want in multi-box. Obviously, this is just a dual boxing guide, so you would select two number of games. What you'll see here is you'll see two squares. With the green ticks and maybe a red box if you haven't configured it, I cannot remember. So what you want to do is you want to click on the first box on the left. What you actually do is you'll see it'll say enter game path. You basically just browse to your World of Warcraft folder. So my World of Warcraft folder is in program files times 86. World of Warcraft, you don't want to select the launcher, you want to select just the wow.exe. You can see I've got a WoW2 here. You don't need that. You just need the wow.exe there. And then what you do is you just click open, which will select that file. Once that's done, you want to click enable battle.net login. You click configure battle.net accounts. Basically what you do here is, let's say your email was, I don't know, noob@hotmail.com. Something like that, yeah. What you do is you just add that in and that'll become selectable, okay? But we'll delete that because we don't need that. These are the accounts that I'm using here. So you would select your first main account because this is the main account that you'll be using. So that is carnivorlost_Mike, as you can see there. Now what we actually do is we don't need to select any of these settings here where it says limit this game's FPS or anything like that. Just ignore that. You don't need to click on advanced options. I'm not entirely sure what that does, to be honest. So we just OK that. Then what you do is you click on the second game. Again, it's the same path, it's just the wow.exe. You don't need a different exe or anything like that. Enable battle.net login. Obviously, you would configure that again and add in your second email account that you've got there. And then what you would actually do is you would just click the drop down menu and you would browse to the second account. Again, you don't need to do anything on this client like limiting the FPS. It's not very important. You can do that through the game. It's totally up to you. So we just OK that. Then next what you actually want to do is, it's entirely up to you. You can have fast switch enabled. Now basically what this allows you to do, if I just click on the configure fast game switch, here you can actually select a hotkey for each client that you actually have to swap between them quickly. I would say this will be sort of more important if you have more than two clients, because with two clients you can still have it quite visible, the second client, so you can actually just click quests etc through the actual client without actually having to swap. It shouldn't be a big problem, not unless you've got quite a small monitor. As you can probably see, I'm running on 2560 by 1440 resolution, so it is an Ultra HD monitor, so it's not such a problem seeing the second client, at least on my screen. Shouldn't be such a big problem on 1080p monitors either. So I have that selected on my Razer Naga 2012 edition, Num7 and Num8 to switch between them. I don't use them anymore, so again, it's entirely up to you whether you want to configure that or not. So just OK that. Remove Windows border. As you may have seen, if you ever have World of Warcraft in a window mode, you'll actually see a little grey drag line around the outside. I like to remove this because you'll not be really configuring the size of the window through the World of Warcraft game. You'll actually do it through this here, which I'll show you in a minute, right in the middle of the screen. And what you actually want to do, you can select a different layout mode if you want. If you actually go through these, it configures the screen sizes for you already, but you can actually just make your own custom sizes, which I find preferable and find the size that sort of best suits your needs. That's entirely up to you. Now, as you'll see, very important, enable key broadcasting. This has to be on as far as I know. So we tick that, we click configure keys. Don't have to worry about anything pretty much in the configure keys settings except that broadcast all keys, but you need to turn this on. This won't be on by default when you first start the program. The kind of keys you want to block for World of Warcraft at least is your movement keys like W, A, S, and D. I don't use A and D, so I don't need to add that in there. That I actually have them as hotkeys, so I actually want to broadcast them. So you only want to sort of hide those keys like for example Q and E. I use them as strafes. I don't want the second character strafing because then it'll break follow, which is very annoying. That'll pretty much make multi-boxing, you know, you'll not be able to do it basically. You want the WS obviously because that's your forward and backwards. I know some people don't have the S key bound. I don't particularly use the S key because I'm not a backpedaler, but just in some fights like tank fights you might need to sort of back off a little bit just so it's not hitting you from the side or anything like that. So the keys I have are Q, W, E, S, O, H. Things like O and H are like menus, like battleground menus and things like that. You don't want them opening on the second character. It's a little bit annoying and causes some issues. Enter, obviously, because that is the chat function. You don't want to be typing on the second character. So that'll be a little bit strange. Map, obviously, NP. Can't remember what all these are, but you want to basically block them. Escape as well. So that's all you have to do. You don't have to worry about custom 1 or custom 2 or anything like that. So we just OK that. You can do enable mouse broadcasting. Now, I've found it to be a little bit buggy. I'm not entirely sure why. Um, I know on this version at least you need to configure something like coordinates so that the second screen clicks in the correct place according to the main screen's size. So it has to work out some sort of ratio. I know that a newer version does all of that for you, so maybe mouse broadcasting is a little bit easier to set up in that. You don't need mouse broadcasting if you're playing a caster particularly. The only advantage that you get with mouse broadcasting is for targetable AoE. So say for example, um, Rain of Fire or Mage Blizzard, things like that. It's not really a big deal when you're leveling up to have targetable AoE, as you can probably imagine. The only reason to really do dual boxing these days is to recruit a friend level a second account to yourself, just so you can boost up loads of characters really fast for your main account particularly. At least that's what I did, because in this current patch and probably for the foreseeable future, you can't actually follow in battlegrounds anymore, so that actually means you can't actually multi-box in a battleground. Well, you can, but that means you would have to move both characters separately, and you could have the second character as a turret, maybe hidden in a bush somewhere, and it'll still duplicate the keys. It's just it won't obviously be following you, which means it's vulnerable to get killed very easily. So yeah, big issue. It's a bit unfortunate because I would have liked to have tried that. I didn't actually multi-box until this was disabled, so I've never actually multi-boxed in a battleground before, unfortunately, as I would probably imagine that's quite fun. um, Now, just to stop rambling a little bit, because I am going on here, what you want to actually do now is you want to customize your screen size. As you can see, it's got a little drag box, so you can make it as big as you want, make it as small as you want, anything like that. Try to make it sort of a realistic ratio so that it displays correctly on your screen, because you might get a little bit of stretching, which looks a bit unusual. Um, as far as I remember, there's nothing particularly else that you need to do in this program. The rest of it's just macros in World of Warcraft that you need to set up, and you only need basically 2 macros to start dual boxing pretty effectively. Now, before I do launch the games, always remember, if you're changing a setting in Boxer, you want to click File and save the configuration. It'll automatically come up to the World of Warcraft folder. As you can see, I've got a couple of different configurations there. This is the one I currently use, noob.pbcfg, and then you just save that and just overwrite it every time. Obviously, you change some of the settings. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and launch the games just to give you sort of a little visual representation of what it looks like. I'll just minimize this program since we don't need that up. So there you go, it's just readjusted there. As you can see, second game's taking a little bit of a while to pop up. There we are. I'll say not paused here on the Boombox panel. This is just to warn you when you are paused. I actually have the enter key as my pause button because I don't want it to obviously start typing on the second account. So I'll just go ahead and unpause that there. So what you do is you'll just log in. I'll obviously duplicate some of the keys that I haven't stopped broadcasting on the second account there. It's not such a big issue. So I'll just log on this account. There we are, and I'm going to go ahead right now and log into the second account. So that's logged in. Don't forget to obviously unpause once you get in game, sorry. Let's let it load up. Shouldn't take too long. In fact, I'll just skip to that right now. Welcome back, everybody. So as you can see, I've actually created two troll mages. I do advise, at least if you're a beginner, to start with two of the same classes, preferably ranged as well. If you do decide to go down the melee route, you will need to find an interact macro. What interact actually does is, I'll just show you. When your character's on follow, if you can see that, he's slightly behind me. So if you have two melee characters, obviously the main account's going to be in range of being able to attack the target that you're attacking, except the follower account won't be able to attack that as melee because they're going to be a little bit too far behind. So what you actually need is an interact macro, and they'll basically dive at the character that you've clicked on the macro and get within melee range of that. But I'm not going to do that today because I'm not really a big fan of doing melee characters, at least in multi-boxing. I find it a little bit unusual and too much of a clot on, especially when most classes have a ranged spec available. Now, there's basically only two macros that you particularly need. You can add a lot of other macros to make it a little bit more of a convenient experience, and you can get a great add-on called Jamba, which actually automates a lot of sort of services in World of Warcraft. For example, quest accepting, quest sharing, resurrection accept, etc. Things like that. Yeah. So it's entirely up to you. I'd say that you would most likely need to do that if you're going to have more than two accounts. If you've only got two accounts, you can just easily click things through the second window, as you can see here. It's not a problem. I don't need to even switch client or anything like that. Now, the macros themselves, you will need to have them on the second character. You don't need to do any macros on the main account. The only macros you will need is an assist macro. The assist, basically, you will need to have that on the main character because that's obviously the character that's going to be selecting the targets. So my main character is called Rage Gaming, so I have /assist Rage Gaming, and whatever spell that you're doing, so whether it's Fire Blast, Frost Firebolt, Rejuvenation, which is obviously a Druid healing spell, you always have /assist the main character and then /cast whatever spell it is. So as you can see here, this is Frost Firebolt, so I do /assist Rage Game and /cast Frost Firebolt, which is obviously on a second line down below. We don't use the default spell, so what you would do is you would just save that once you've obviously wrote that out. That the spell icon will pop up. Just drag it out, get rid of the other Frostfire Bolt, and you'll start using that. So that's your main damage spell set up there. And the only other macro that you'll particularly need is /follow and the character name, because what you'll find happening sometimes is in instances, for some strange reason, the character may break follow just due to obviously the fact that the follow system's not the greatest in the world. And I don't know, I'm not sure if it's me, if I've set it up wrong, or if it's just a problem with Boomboxer or whatever, but I've actually noticed that sometimes the character will just randomly run off and the key will get stuck. I'm not sure why it does that. It's very unusual. It's not my keyboard, because if the key was getting stuck, I would notice that. If I was searching things on the internet, it would be pressed down, obviously, and it's not. So it must be something either to do with the game or Boomboxer. I'm not particularly sure, but other than that, it's not a big problem. So the second macro is obviously /follow. Just drag that to whatever hotkey you want. You don't need this on the main account because it broadcasts keys, so it actually duplicates the key you press to all other accounts. So let's just break follow here. So he's over there, he's not following, and I'll just press B in the main account. So as you can see, he's suddenly started to follow. Yeah, so very, very easy. You can also set up an invite macro, so you could have that on the main account /invite. Well, my second character is called guides here, so /invite guides. You could set that up as a macro. So we don't need that on the second account. We'll just make that here. So in /invite guides. Drag that out to whatever hotkey you want, or you can just click it. I don't advise clicking. It's totally for noobs. Right, so let's just leave the party here. So we'll do /invite guides. That's popped up just for quick access there. Obviously, if you've got multiple accounts, it's going to be great for obviously convenience. 2 accounts, not really a big problem. I can just do /invite and then accept that there. So I've got them invited. I'm on follow. We've got the assist macro set up. So just to show you this in action, they'll both cast at the same time. Oops. So to properly show you that without failing and having some sort of technical issue, as always, we'll start casting on this target here. As you'll see, they'll both start casting at the same time. We'll bring it down very easily. There we are. So that's basically as simple as it is. You basically only need 2 macros if you want to do it. As quickly as possible, basically. I hope you've enjoyed my guide, as always. Please subscribe if you have found anything useful in the video. It does really help sort of, get the word out there, come to my channel, etc., whatever. Give us some funds to make some videos. Yeah, I'm only kidding. Right, so not only that, I would like you to like the video. Yes, I'm telling you to like the video because I made this for you. I know it helped you. Right, so like the video, drop a comment below as well. I don't mind if you want to sort of question me or query me on anything that you've seen in the video, or even anything just in general about World of Warcraft or whatever game that you've seen us playing. I don't mind to take the time to respond or anything like that. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed my guide for now. Thanks for watching, everybody. Goodbye.